and good morning. Once again, we meet online again to review the Wondrous Lotus Sutra. In the past week, Master had just finished chapter 17, and in the past few days, we had begun the chanting practice of the Lotus Sutra in anticipation of our anniversary that is coming up on the 9th. And so that's why in the last few days, we don't have the morning Dharma talk. I hope this does not mean that it's time for a break, but rather it means it's a time for review. Time for us to get back to the days that we missed. Time for us to get back to the things that we didn't quite understand. Time for us to really reflect and getting prepared for chapter 18 that is coming. So, and I think there are a lot of things that I want to share today. So let's get right to it. So once again, we appreciate everybody getting online to come to gather for the Dharma. And last week we talked about merit and virtue and talking about transcending beyond. And specifically we talk about what is merit. Merit is something that's earned, learned, kept, and practiced. And most importantly, we accumulate through a long time. And how do we do that? By benefiting others. And what was most amazing to me was Master was just lay it out in front of us. She basically said that it's about the Dharma itself isn't really, ultimately, it benefits ourselves the most. But the origination of learning the Dharma is to help others. So do not think of trying to benefit ourselves to learn the Dharma, but rather when you want to help other people so much that you do everything and anything that you can to help them, then you actually help them, but at the same time, you benefit yourself even more so. And that's why Master said, she spent a lot of time trying to understand the issues and problems of the world. And she tried, and now knowing the problems and issues, she tried to understand what the Buddha had taught us on how to get and resolve these issues. And beyond that, she tried to understand how to combine what the Buddha had taught us that was 2,500 years ago to match what we have today. And the time that she spent in learning the problems, in learning the Buddha's Dharma, and learning to combine the problems and the solution, she benefited the most. And that was the very key message that the Master was trying to give us. In that's what merit gets accumulated, because you're trying to do something so selfless. You're trying to help others. And throughout time, when you don't stop, when you are selfless, when you're tireless and you're fearless, and you don't change, you don't become very arrogant just because you have benefited so much and learned so much, but you don't change yourself. You don't change the humbleness. You remain faithful and respectful of the Dharma, of the people you're trying to help. If you can maintain that for a long time, then you will also accumulate virtue. So merit is more like the tools, understanding, the knowledge. Virtue is like the wisdom. It allows you to go on for a long time and it allows you to continue to not change while everything else around you have changed. Situation have changed and the people you're helping have changed. You yourself have changed. You have grown, but you do not change that intention. The intention is still go out to help the people that needed them, and that does not get changed. So even though we are getting better in terms of understanding, in terms of applying the Dharma, we do not change that faith. We do not change the respect, the humbleness that we have. And we remain tireless and fearless, and we remain selfless. And that's what merit and virtue was. We also talked about transcending beyond. And then we talked about turning consciousness and knowledge into wisdom, which we will talk more about today. So we talked about bone marrow donation, how needing the water and needing the blood transfusion and needing the bone marrow transfusion, transplant our different steps, it helps us more and more and more. And what this Dharma is that if we just take one sentence to help us, then that's more like a blood transfusion. If we apply that one sentence all the time, then it becomes more and more infused in us. More importantly, it's not even that one sentence. It's to implant the bone marrow. So all the things that we do, it's not just to follow that one sentence, but the meaning behind it, so that it extends beyond just those blood cells that were transfused from other people, but it became our own. It became our words. It became our thoughts. It became what we do things and our guidelines. It's not just something that we follow and copied, but rather it became ours. And that's the idea of transplanting, of transplanting the bone marrow, instead of just the blood cells coming from transfusion. So it's to turn what we have into something of a next level, which we will be talking about today through QA. So today we're going to go into two things. One is cultivation, how. And the last 2 days, I think it was the 27th and the 28th, the last 2 days, there were a lot of very key messages that I have highlighted today that I would like to share with all of you. And then using the idea of transcend beyond, again, we will be talking about how to resolve some of the questions that some of you have posed. So today we're going to be talking about cultivation, how, or how to cultivate. And these are the segments that I have excerpted from, that are the excerpts from the past talk of the past week. And very briefly to reiterate, our bad habits tendencies have accumulated throughout our past lives beyond our account, and our views have been corrupted and tainted by the collective karma of all the people. We don't know where lies the truth, how to find the truth, or how to find the truth. We don't know which path to follow, and we don't know where we will be in the next life. How much time do we have left in this life? So this is the part where Master was lamenting that our lives right now, not just me, you, or ourselves, but it's everyone, all the sentient beings. We have accumulated all the very bad, corrupted views and all of this throughout the ages for so long. It was accumulated. It's almost like the level of dust that was accumulated. We are buried deep, deep, deep underneath a very heavy layer of dust of all the things that blocks the sun. So we don't even know where the truth is. We don't know where our next path is. We don't know which path to follow. We don't even know what to do. So we don't know where the truth is, or we don't even know how to find it. We don't know who to follow. We don't know where to go. And we don't know where we will be in the next life. And we don't know how much longer do we have left in this life. Master was lamenting this, just explaining how dire situation that we are in. On the next page, however, Master also said, we have aspired to be with the people, to go into the people. However, that's where the afflictions are. That's the affliction that's causing all of these things that buried us. That's the things that that made all of us get buried under all the dust. That's where the affliction comes out, the people. So how do we get rid of the affliction and be with the people at the same time? And the answer is cultivation of wisdom. Master says, if we have wisdom, affliction will not rise. And if we don't have the wisdom, the affliction will be bound to rise. This is like our immune system. If we have a strong immune system, we will not get sick as easily. So this is talking about cultivation now. So Master now responds to her earlier lament. She says, although we do not know what the future holds, we should seize the current moment, direct our mind to enlightenment, awake our wisdom. When turning the confused and deviant views into wisdom, this is turning the Dharma wheel. To continue turning the Dharma wheel, turning ignorance into enlightenment, such as wisdom. And what that means is, Master is trying to take an age-long problem. So she talked about throughout ages and ages and ages, we have been accumulating bad things, very bad things, and we are buried so deep below, and we don't even see the sunlight. We don't even know what to do. But she does not get trouble or stopped by just because we are buried so far deep underneath. Instead, she's telling us, let us think about this moment right now. Although we do not know what the future holds, we don't know what's going to happen. In fact, we don't even know how long ago or how much time we have accumulated all these afflictions. We should seize the current moment, direct our mind to enlightenment. And what does that mean? It means that at this moment, when we say something, when a thought comes out, we know if this is good or bad. We know if we should have it or not. It doesn't mean we can change our behavior. Sometimes we're weak. Sometimes we're strong. We know that this is a bad thought and we should not have it. Sometimes that's the truth. Sometimes we can change our behavior. Sometimes we can change how we think. But it's not always the truth. But what can we do? We know that current moment, that moment, if we can turn this thought and this view when we're about to get angry, do we realize that? Do we see that? Can we turn that anger into something more positive? Can we turn that deviated views into something that is of wisdom? If we can, that's turning the Dharma wheel. That's seizing the moment. That is slowly and surely churning and turning the Dharma, which allows us to turn the ignorance into enlightenment and grow our wisdom. We are fighting a battle at every moment. Can we keep that? The moment we hear something and we are about to respond in a very deviated way, the moment that we do that, can we catch ourselves quick enough? Or when the thought comes out, can we catch ourselves quick enough so that we know that this is not good and we should think about how to respond, and we should think about how to calm our views? That's wisdom. So the more that we're able to do that, the more that we're seizing that current moment, the more that we're able to direct our mind to enlightenment at that moment, the less that accumulation of the habitual tendency will be, and the more that we're turning the Dharma wheel. This is coming from Master herself. She was saying that we are buried underneath so much beyond what we can count. After lifetime of unknown and not knowing what to do, we don't even know what to do in the future. But we know what to do now. Every moment is a time of choice. Every moment is time of battle. How do you choose? It's the same as in the morning when we wake up. You can always choose to wake up to go Xun Fa Xiang, or you can choose to continue to sleep. That's your choice. And I choose to not lose the very first battle in the day. I might lose the entire day, making bad choices the entire day, but at least I would be telling myself, I did not lose on the first decision of the day when I wake up. So that's my choice. And so throughout the day, let's try to make the choices leaning toward the choices of enlightenment, leaning toward the choices of wisdom. That's what Master is saying. Seize that current moment, because that moment, when you make the choice, you can slowly turn the Dharma wheel. We all can. So that goes into the second point that I really want to bring out, which is transcend beyond. And today I'm going to follow the last week's model. I'm going to use the QA questions that were posed, using this as a way to show everyone and to share with everyone how we can transcend beyond. In the sutra itself, okay, in the sutra, the last few days, I think it was the last 2 days on the 27th, the sutra reads, wherever he dwells, walks, or sits, or recites even a single verse, a stupa will be built. A stupa is a treasure tower. So that means whatever he does, dwells, walks, sits, recites even a single verse, that means daily lives or chanting. That means whether someone is doing something, carrying out something in the everyday trivial activities, or doing something that everyone thinks is cultivation. A stupa will be built. That means if you carry the Dharma, if you carry the teaching, if you cherish that every moment, that every decision you make and everything you do is adhering to the teaching, is always observing yourself and thinking, did I make the right decision? Is this the decision that Master would want us to make? Is it the decision that I feel will not give me any remorse, that I feel is the right thing, will not offend anybody, will not hurt anybody, will not, etc., etc., etc. If you seize that moment, then wherever, whether you are walking, sitting, or dwelling, or sleeping, or reciting even a single verse, that stupa will be built. It's not a real stupa, but it's a stupa of the mind. It means that in your heart, right there, it's where the Dharmakaya, or the Buddha, the Dharma body of the Buddha will be appearing. And therefore, this week, there was a question. Okay, let me jump to this question first. So the question is, we understand the importance of cultivating both wisdom and blessing, and understand the need to spend time to cultivate. Yet we face constraint in time to learn the teaching. Many times one also has to spend time in managing trivial affair. How does a person overcome this obstacle? And that's what today's sharing was already answering, but I would like to bring out in more specifics. So do not, and this is very hard, and I'm learning this myself too. We always think about cultivating blessing and wisdom as if something that is on two sides. Like in the morning when we're reciting, or when we're listening to Xun Fa Xiang and the morning Dharma talk, that's the time that we're cultivating wisdom. And other times, when we're doing Tzu Chi, we're cultivating blessing. Yet at the same time, our lives is continuous. It doesn't have a start and a stop. It's continuous. Our thoughts are continuous. It doesn't start and stop where. It's just continuously flowing, So it's just like time. It's not 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. No, it's made up of many, many, many infinitely small particle of time that is built continuously. So at the same time, if the time is continuous, then the cultivation should be too. And so today's sharing was more about, it's that moment. You are handling trivial affair. Don't think of it as trivial. Think of it as another level of cultivation. Cultivation doesn't happen only when you recite a single verse. So that's why the sutra here reads, wherever he dwells, walks, or sits, or recites. Why did the sutra specifically talks about dwells, walks, and sits, and then reciting? It's the same idea of combining that. Don't separate these things. We are the same person. It's not this part is cultivating blessing. This part is cultivating wisdom. It's at the time that we're cultivating wisdom and reciting, are we praying for the well-being of all the sentient beings? Are we thinking of how we can help others? That is also cultivating blessing. Whenever we're sitting, walking, talking, doing something, are we thinking about, am I doing the right thing? Are you always reflecting into yourself and thinking about, how can I improve myself? How can I reduce my affliction? How can I get rid of bad thoughts? That's also cultivating wisdom. And so that's what I want to say. Don't think of it as managing trivial affair, and that's why it's not cultivating wisdom. Master have always said, the real Zen lies in everyday walking, everyday working, every trivial things that we're doing, therein lies the wisdom. And that's why in this topic, it's called transcending. Can you see beyond the trivial things that you're doing? Yeah, sometimes you might thinking, well, I'm just wiping off, I'm just doing some house cleaning. I'm just cleaning up the toilet or the bathroom or the living room. That's trivial. That's something that I'm doing. How does that count as cultivating wisdom? Yes, it could always be. Remember the story of sweeping the floor? And that's the idea. Can you see beyond this activity, this particular event, this trivial affair? Can you see beyond that and see that this very moment, where is my heart? Where is my mind? Is my mind focused on what I'm doing? Is my mind focused on my actions? How is it affecting? What kind of joy does it give me? All these are the things that we are focusing on while we're doing something we deem to be trivial. If we can see everything trivial as something that is more and infused with Dharma, then every moment is cultivation of wisdom. So it's very important to cultivate both. But we so often separate both, as in, now I'm doing this, therefore it's exclusive. Now I'm doing that, and therefore it's exclusive. How do we merge the two? That's the most difficult. It's almost like, how do you talk and breathe at the same time? We just practice. We just do it. And eventually, it became so natural that you don't even know how to teach other people, except to tell them, just do it naturally. You will be able to talk and breathe, or talk and walk at the same time. But there were times that we don't know how. But we have long forgotten how long ago that was. We don't have long forgotten how that works. So once again, cultivation of both wisdom and blessing happen at the same time. And therefore, if you face constraint of time, we all do, then it's more important that we merge the cultivation into one, rather than saying, now it's a time for wisdom, now I don't have time for blessing. But it's the same time for all. So coming back into question 1, it's not easy to seek donation from others, as they tend to say that Tzu Chi has the monies or give excuses. Why can't I just get involved in Tzu Chi activities without needing to seek for donation? And this goes back into our topic here, which is transcend. You know, I have given this analogy before, and this is the analogy that I always give myself when I'm thinking about, I could just do that. Meaning, you know, when we learn mathematics, right, we start with addition and subtraction. And the idea is that once we have mastered addition and subtraction, would you be willing to stay with addition and subtraction and say, you know what, teacher, I will not move on to grade 3 and learn multiplication and division because I am happy with subtraction and addition? You could, but a teacher will want you to know more, because these are the tools that will help you in the future. These are the tools that will help you, train you, so that you will eventually learn the tools to help you in the future when you need them. So it's not training because you're doing this to benefit other people. The training that teacher want to give you is something that you will need. The same idea. You could be just a happy volunteer. You could be just, involved in other activities. But you know that it's not easy seeking donation. You know that it's not easy. But don't let it stop you just because it's not easy. More so, seeking and soliciting donation is not about benefiting Tzu Chi, but also for you to overcome that difficulty and obstacle. That's how you transcend and move on to the next level. You will see through trying to get to resolve the difficulties, you learn and you benefit even more. And there lies in the wisdom to always give yourself, I'm fearless and I'm selfless. I am doing this to help more people. But in doing so, you get through your own problems, which is, it's not easy. I don't know how to do this. Can I not do that? Well, learning is never easy. If it's easy, then it's not really learning, because the idea of learning is to know something you didn't know. And to know something you didn't know, it's really difficult. Sometimes you have to overcome your own views. It's not just knowing ABC, but sometimes you overcome some of the things that were already very deep ingrained in your brain. So that's why you can just get involved in Tzu Chi activities without needing to seek for donation, but only because perhaps you have no time to do everything. But you already said it's not easy. So it seems to me that you don't want to do this because it's not easy. And I'm telling you, if that's the reason, then I'm here encouraging all of you. Do not shy away just because it's not easy, but rather that uneasiness is what will drive you toward improving yourself. Perhaps it's not easy because you find it very tiring and difficult to explain when they have all these excuses. Perhaps it's not easy because you have to face that facial expression, that the expression they give you, like they don't care for what you're saying and they don't care for what Tzu Chi is doing. How do you overcome that? How do you see the people that Tzu Chi is helping with this donation more than you see their facial expression and the unwillingness of you of not accepting that facial expression? Which one is more important? My not accepting or not willing to see your facial expression, or that money actually gets to help others? And not just that, you're also helping this person to contribute, to donate, to help others, helping him build and cultivate blessing, and at the same time, cultivate your own wisdom. That's transcending. So once again, through these two questions, I'm also sharing the idea of transcending. So in this question, there's also a very similar idea that the person says, I'm a training volunteer, 培训, and dare not proceed as commissioner, as have concern if I could undertake the above, which is Buddha's heart is our heart, Master's mission is our mission. The heart is still very much at happy volunteering stage. How do I overcome this? And once again, the idea is this path, just like addition and subtraction. You could stay at addition and subtraction, and you would not have as many tools. Your horizon would not be as wide, as big, than if you actually continue to learn division and multiplication. Everything that you learn opens up a new horizon and new universe. Something that other people were talking about, you didn't know before, but now you learn something and you know. Same idea. You remain as happy volunteering. It's not a problem, except you miss out the opportunity to learn more. And without this opportunity to learn more, you will not have more tools when other things come at you, and you need to overcome them. So you will remain at subtraction and addition, which is not bad. You can master these two operations. That's fine. Stay where you are. But to overcome, to transcend, always give yourself, that's your decision. The decision to flip over and say, I am waking up now, I am not going to stay in bed, or I'm going to stay in bed. That's that moment. That moment, are you going to tell yourself, I am going to stay in bed, or I'm going to make the decision to wake up more in the morning because 循法讲 is important. That's your decision. And the idea in the very first part was about how to cultivate. That should answer your question, is to cherish that moment. Every moment we're making a decision. Every decision is a battle. That battle, can we win in that battle? Do not look at how long ago things have accumulated. Do not look at far beyond today or this moment, how it's going to turn out. But focus on the now. Can I make the right decision? Is this the decision that I would sit well with afterwards? And that's the idea. So if you know that you're a happy volunteering because you don't have the time and you don't have the commitment, hey, that's fine. I'm not going to force you, and no one should. However, you need to ask yourself, are you doing this because you don't want a certain thing? You don't want a certain bad or time commitment or all of that? Or perhaps it's time to jump over that hurdle and transcend and say, hey, I know I don't have time, but this is something that I need to do. And I know I don't have what it takes, but this is something that I'm willing to be on the journey to find it and to overcome. And I want to say to this person, even if you're a training volunteer, you think that you are not 佛心师智 yet. And I can tell you, not many people, in fact, I don't know anyone, I should not say that, but I know myself, I am not there yet either. But I know because I have taken on the role of a commissioner or 慈诚. I know that I'm on the journey, and because of that, I'm getting more responsibilities and I'm getting more opportunities to learn. Being a happy volunteer means happy. Happy is joy. That means nothing bad will come to you, or less bad will come to you. And that means less resistance. So how would you grow? You would remain happy, which is not a bad thing. But more importantly is, how do we transcend? So that's what I would like to say to this person asking the question. And now on page 18, I still want to talk about turning consciousness and knowledge into wisdom. And the reason why I want to share with you is, I think we always talk about how we have to cherish Master's time. And these past few weeks and months, we have seen Master going from 7 days of life wisdom, of morning assembly, into 6 days, and then into now only 2 days. And we always think about, our time is running out, that we are seeing less and less of Master, so we need to cherish more and more. But I would like to tell you this in a personal perspective, and also a story of Tzu Chi. And we all know Tzu Chi is the first disciple. Okay, it's the first monastic disciple of Master Cheng. And recently, I think she's very well respected. She's the first. She's the eldest in terms of the monastic rank. And so a lot of things we ask her for guidance. And so when a lot of volunteers come back to the abode, they always ask Tzu Chi to share with them. But just the other day, we of the curriculum group, we went to ask Tzu Chi to come to our closing ceremony so that we can ask her to share her wisdom with the participants. And you can see the worried look on her. She began to say, and then she probably went on for 20 minutes. She was very worried. She was worried about what? She wasn't worried about the participants. She was worried about herself. She said, as she was getting old, she cannot hear very well, and she cannot see very well. And this is something that is the law of nature. The body, the physical conditions are deteriorating, and she cannot remember very well. And she does not quite understand. She doesn't follow and catch Master's teaching. So every day Master's been talking, but she sits there and she has the very worried look that she said, I cannot receive this. I cannot hear, I cannot see, I cannot read well. All the things that Master is saying, I cannot understand. All the things that I have is what I had from the past. All the memories, all the reasons, and all the things, that's all I have now. And she turned to us and she said, so I'm very worried that you ask me to share with all the participants. I cannot give you the newest things that Master is giving you. I am not qualified, for I only remember what lie in the past. I don't know what she is saying now because I can't hear, see, or read well now. And it hurts us so bad to see her say that. So we encourage her, and we encourage Master Tzu, and we said, but that's what we need you. We don't know what happened in the past. That's what we need you. So she got, you can see in her eye that she has the life comes back. She talks about the past, and she was as if she was living in the past. And when I saw that, I see life in her. And I see that's what Dharma is. That's what Dharma is. That's why Master kept on saying, memorize it, memorize it, memorize it. Because one day, we are not going to lose Master. We are going to lose ourselves. We are going to be sitting there and not able to understand. What would you have then? You would only have what you have learned up so far. If you are very diligent, then what you have so far is what you have got to work with only. Just like what Tzu Chi is. She had worked so much so she can always reach in to her past. Even Master is still talking, but she can't receive no more. What can she do? At least she's got that Dharma. And the Dharma doesn't come out because she hears something more. The Dharma never left. The Dharma didn't change 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It didn't change. It's the same. So even if she cannot receive the new teaching and reflect it to the participants, she could always reach into the past events and be able to share with everyone. That's what we seek, because the Dharma is the same. So for all of you out there thinking, oh, Master's time is getting less, I need to cherish. I am telling you, it's not Master's time who is getting less, it's our time. And on a more personal note, I've shared with many of you how recently, past month, that I was ill. And there are still lingering effects that I don't know why. Right now, for the past month, I thought it was a problem of allergy, but it's not. It appears to be not. So the problem is, I used to have stuffy nose, but now I can breathe very, very fine. But the problem is, I cannot smell. I lose the sense of smell for the past month. And I haven't had a chance to get it checked out yet. It's just too busy. But at first, I thought it was nothing. And then it slowly gave me more realization. At first, I thought, because I never knew this, but I could taste the food. I could taste whether it's sour or sweet or bitter. But I cannot smell it. That means I could be tasting an apple, and I know that it's sweet and a little bit sour, but I can't tell that it's an apple because I don't smell the fragrance. I don't smell the fragrance of the smell of apple or strawberry or anything. So I can taste if it's salty, sweet, sour, but I can't. If you close my eyes, I cannot know what I'm eating. I just know it's salty. So my sense of taste is still there, but my sense of smell is gone. So I cannot smell anything, good or bad, nothing. And what does that mean? How does it work with this 得此师父 thing? It means now I'm eating a strawberry or eating an apple. I can only rely on my past memory of how it smells like to merge with how I'm tasting. It's not about when the apple is gonna go extinct and there will be no more apples and we have to memorize it because we're never gonna smell it again. It's that we are going to lose these functions unknowingly one day. Don't wait until that time to stock up on remembering to smell the rose. Don't wait until the time that you wake up one day and thinking, oh, it's gonna come back. And I don't know if it's gonna come back. But now I have to rely on my memory on all these things. Don't wait until that day to say it's too late. Cherish that moment. Make the right decision. That's what cultivation is. Cherish that moment and seize that moment to make the right decision, to learn the Dharma, to memorize it, to keep it deep in your heart. Because the moment you wake up next time, you don't know if there's going to be an opportunity. Maybe perhaps you'll be like me, losing the sense of smell. So you'll no longer be able to smell the early morning, how it smells like. You can't, or at least I don't know if I'm going to get it back, but at least I will be using my memory because I know how it smells. Just like 得此师父 should be using her memory to remember the Dharma and how it applies to her life, how it changed her lives. And that's why Master wants us to memorize the Dharma, to always memorize it, because we don't know if one day we're going to lose it. And it's not losing the Master. The other fear is we will be lost first. So that's cultivation at every moment, making the right decision. So that's my sharing for today. And I hope with the opportunity to answer some questions and merging the idea, we will be able to go back to the chapter and really see the entire picture, that cultivation happens at every moment, and that we would have all these tools, whether it's the 6 paramita, the 6 perfection, or the different tools, the 4 encompassing vows and all of that, to help us get through the difficulties. But don't stop just because it's difficult. Remember to be faithful, respectful, and fearless, tireless, and continue to be selfless. That's how we're able to gain the merit and earn the virtue. So thank you. That's the sharing for today. And we will now turn to other center for sharing. Thank you.
感恩 Brother Joe for such a overwhelming, insightful, and inspirational sharing. we all pray that Brother Joe will regain his sense of smelling soon. Okay, today we have sharing from Puchong, Sister Chin Sei. Over to you, Kaen.
Good morning, Master, brothers and sisters. Today I want to share my experience during my visit in Hualien on February 8th. A magnitude of 6 earthquake struck Hualien on February 6, 2018. Everyone was so worried about the people staying in Hualien. Despite of the earthquake, it could not stop a group of courageous Yongdong and volunteers from Malaysia to carry on the trip to meet our beloved Master on February 8th. When we arrived at the Taipei airport, the weather was cold, but the hospitality of our brothers and sisters who were receiving us at the airport made our hearts felt warm. We spent a night in Taipei Hotel. We visited Nei Hu Recycling Center in the next rainy morning. The recycling center is huge. Sister brought us to tour around the recycling center, and I was touched by a brother who diligently doing recycling for almost 360 days in a year, and the mindfulness of a sister in segregating the plastic into many types, such as PET, PVC, and etc. in a pound. Later on, Sister brought us to visit the factory that produced eco-friendly blanket. The blanket is made from PET bottles. Tzu Chi started producing the blanket originated from the international relief in Afghanistan. An elderly sister has been serving selflessly in the factory from 70 plus years old till 90 plus years old. How perseverance of her. Whereas sister who is in charge of the factory had been resigned from her job as a designer to serve unconditionally in the factory. I truly admire their dedication and hard work in serving those in need. The next stop was Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital. When we reached there, we prayed sincerely for the people in Hualien. A sister who guided us around the hospital shared her story with us. She once could not stand on her feet due to illness. She swore to herself she would go out to serve if she could recover from the illness. Sister keeps her word. When she got well, she immediately go among people to serve diligently, and she told us that during the course of her serving in Tzu Chi, she has earned 2 children and happiness which money cannot buy. After that, we visited Ai TV. Many of us volunteered confidently to be the news anchor of Ai TV. Brother Kok brought us to the top of the building. It was so amazing because we were standing in the middle of the lotus flower. During the sharing section in IIT, a video clip was played. I was shocked and sad when I saw a polar bear standing on a piece of iceberg that's surrounded by water. Due to the climate change, the iceberg is shrinking. the polar bear has no solid place to stand on anymore. This reminds us to save our Mother Earth before it is too late. In the evening, we took a train to Hualien. When we reached there, we were so relieved that Hualien was as peaceful as usual and most of the buildings were in good condition after the earthquake. After a shower in the hotel, my brother asked me to look out from the window of the hotel. I saw a hotel was collapsed and slanting in front of us. In our heart, we pray the world would be free from disasters. On February 10, we headed to Hualien Jing Hall, where we would meet our master and Musa from all over the world. Teardrops fell down my cheek when I saw the video clip where our medical team seized every moment to save life in the Hualien earthquake. A victim was sent to the emergency ward at Tzu Chi Hospital. A doctor immediately jumped onto the bed to save the patient. After the ceremony, we had a sharing session with Brother Zhong Han, Brother Si Xian, and Brother Guo Qi. 3 brothers went to Mexico to help those suffering from earthquake with sincere heart. Many of the suffering people in Mexico were touched by the sincerity of Tzu Chi volunteers, and many of them have become part of our family too. Well, we were standing at the Jing Books and Cafe. We met a group of masters and volunteers just came back to Jing Hall after sending love and care door to door to the people in Hualien. After saying farewell with all the family from Malaysia, I stepped on my journey to Jing abode together with brothers and sisters in a peaceful evening. During my stay in Jing abode, I had the opportunity to be the volunteers in the kitchen, be cleaning works, cleaning turmeric, working in Sari factory, and working in the vegetable farm. This was the first time I celebrated Chinese New Year in Jing abode with all Tzu Chi family from all over the world. One night I met a brother. He shared his affinity on how to become a Tzu Chi volunteer. He told me that he was moved by the 90-degree power of Tzu Chi volunteers during the 91 earthquake disaster in Nantou, Taiwan. Therefore, we must always be very mindful with our decorum in every way. This was the first time and first experience working in this was the first time and the first experience I worked in the vegetable farm. I was assigned to work together with Master Teken in the vegetable farms for several days. I could comprehend the hard work that Master Teken put in the vegetable farm. Master treated the vegetables with love. I have learned a lot and comprehended that Dharma is existing everywhere if we are mindful enough. During the process of the clearing the weeds at farm, it was like eliminating our habitual tendency. Here are a few Jing aphorisms which I would like to dedicate to every one of you. The first one, cultivate good habits diligently, transform bad habits diligently. The second one is, with faith, there is nothing one cannot do. With patience, there is no responsibility too heavy to shoulder. The third one is, when there are many good people, the power of blessing and kindness are great. During the process, I was filled with Dharma joy and very grateful to masters, brothers and sisters who took care of me during my stay in Jing abode. 感恩 everybody.
Okay, 感恩 Sister Qingxi. In fact, Sister Qingxi in Pujong Center, she fully utilized her time over the weekends and also weekday to serve, to be on duty in Tzu Chi activity, and she's very active in charity, recycling, 3-in-1, which is in writing report, and also this the promotion of Zhengsi products, and also this educational learning at Pujong Center. Okay,
Okay. 感恩 Sister Qingxi for your sharing, and I would just like to say that thank you for sharing your wonderful experience back at the Chinese New Year when the entire group comes back, and thank you for detailing the trip, whether it's in Taipei or back in Hualien, and everything that you have done. And I think that only says one thing: for anyone that comes into this trip, anyone can take a look at it at its face value. And the face value is that it's a tour. You come home, you take an airplane, you come here at the airport, you get there, you stay in the hotel, you go to see these places, and then you go to another place that's more remote or rural, and you see mountains and trees, and you see some vegetables growing in the farm, and then you come home. That's on the surface value of what this is. But turning consciousness or knowledge into wisdom is to see beyond that. It's to see further and deeper into what that means. And that's where the wisdom lies. I remember last week, Master, in one of the days, and I went back to study it numerous times. And Master talks about the idea of light. The light shining onto a very dark room. And she said the light is like the wisdom, but it's only the first part of the wisdom. It's only the first part, which is the ability to differentiate. And where the light comes in, you can tell that there is a table, that there is a chair, and there are these things, and the table is how high, how big, and the chair is how tall, how big. You know these things. Just like we have the experience of going on these tour. We know that as a tourist, these are the things that we will see. We will see something new. We will see something nice. We would get to stay in a hotel room and we would get to experience something we haven't experienced before. But the second part of wisdom is something that penetrates, something that goes deeper beyond the surface. The light can only shine onto the surface and tells you how tall and how big the chairs and the desks are. But the feelings of what that, how tall or how hard or what's underneath the surface, it takes time and it takes mindfulness. It goes beyond just what our eyes can see, but it has to merge, combine your eyes, your hands, your sense of smell, maybe sense of touch, maybe sense of hearing. Combine all of that together through time to experience something more. And that's wisdom. And that's something you share with us. So it's not just coming to another place for your Chinese New Year. It's not just your, favorite weekend trip out to somewhere. It's not just that. It's more than that. It's actually much more insightful, much more heartfelt. Just like you said, you come to the airport in Taipei. You felt the weather was cold. That's the knowledge of differentiation. You know the weather is colder in Taiwan in February than in Malaysia. But you feel the warmth coming from the brothers and sisters because of their hospitality. That is not something that when other people observe, they could see, oh, these people are radiating heat. That's why these people feel not as cold. No, they are not radiating heat. They are actually just giving you feelings and emotion that heat is generating from within yourself. So that is turning consciousness into wisdom, turning something that we can see, feel, touch, hear, sense, and taste and smell into something more that cannot be fathomed, that cannot be put into words, that is not physical. That's called turning knowledge and consciousness into wisdom. So that's why that's why Master always says, how can we turn consciousness into wisdom? And that's the key. So thank you, Sister Chinsei, for your sharing. And I'm sure there are many others who have come back to the Hualien, and they would tell you, no, it's not just like any other tour. It's not just like any other place that we visited, because we are going home. And because we are going home, this isn't a tour. This is not like a tourist trip where we come back to see for sightseeing. Rather, it's coming home, and everything is different. The air seems to be sweeter. Everything here seems to be better because it's turning consciousness into wisdom. And when your wisdom goes in, when it sets in, you get to see all the things beyond the things. Oh, it's hot, but I like it. I'm sweating all the time and I need to take shower 3 times a day, but I enjoy it. I would not have it any other way because this is home. And that's turning consciousness into wisdom. So every moment that we cherish and every moment that we seize, we are turning consciousness into wisdom. We are turning affliction into wisdom. We are turning the Dharma wheel. And that's what it means to cultivate at every moment. So thank you, Sister, for your sharing. And I hope everybody can also hear the story, but go beyond that and see, do I feel the same way? When I take a trip, do I feel the same way? Or do I feel this is just like any other trip? And if you see beyond all the things, beyond its face value, then you are beginning to see the true wisdom. So thank you, everybody. And I'm not sure if there's another sharing or if that would be all for today.
Okay, it's 8 already.感恩 Brother Joe, Sister Chinsei, Sister Tammy, for lots of heartfelt and wisdom sharing today. Thank you, Pusa, for your presence today. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Master's and Hualien love to our life. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Master Cheng as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily lives. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life, universal truth. Our palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sifu who could join us today.感恩. See everyone next Saturday. 感恩. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.